evening. We are students from 6th year in SLE Institute, and we're going to talk about neuropsychoeducation. Neuroeducation is new teaching vision that gives educational technologies and strategies to focus on the functioning of the brain. This new discipline connects the knowledge of neuroscience, psychology, and education with the objective of improving the teacher learning through the understanding of how the brain learns so that it can be stimulated.
Okay, now I will talk about the facts that intervene in neuroeducation. Regarding brain function, this new discipline uses the knowledge accumulated by science during the last 25 years. Some of the most important findings are, firstly, brain plasticity. Brain plasticity has been one of the most revealing discoveries of neuroscience. The brain is plastic, that is to say, it has a great capacity of adaptation during life. Moreover, it is able to create new neurons and connections among them if we stimulate it correctly. And secondly, mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are brain cells which are activated when we do actions or when we observe another person doing those actions. This can also occur with emotional expressions. That's why it is said that these are the basis for empathy and language acquisition. We live the action as it is ours, we understand it, and we learn through imitation. For example, when kids imitate their parents in some actions, or when one of our friends goes over a difficult situation, we try to understand what happened, so we learn through it. That produces some feelings on us, and we want to help that person.
Then the emotions and learning. Emotions interact with the process of learning, so one crucial part of neuroeducation refers to manage them, so their impact could be positive rather than negative. It's important to recognize when we are angry or sad, to take control of those feelings and change our behavior. On the other hand, we have to mention that a meaningful learning process contributes to get good academic performance. So if we learn something that we can connect with, something we like or we have interest, that will produce an effect on our minds and will help us to incorporate better and last longer on our memory. The experts are constantly debating about if the genetics or the experience are the most important part to learning. The majority of them agree with this, and it's because the genetics are related with our abilities and capacities, and the experience has an influence over them because it helps to train, transform, and improve them. The advances in learning disorders such as dyslexia, hyperactivity, focusing problems, and etc. are contribute to the idea that every person counts with individual capacities, abilities, and necessities which affect the learning process. That is because not everybody learns the same amount of things at the same time.
As we said, teachers must know how the brain works so that they can adapt the teaching styles. For that, it's important in a positive environment where the teachers show empathy and get close to the students. Also, maximize the emotional learning so we can learn better when information generates emotions and different reactions in our minds. For that, there are 3 important steps when teaching. And the first one is use different methods or strategies to teach. Where teachers can increase the learning process by using different materials and activities, applying a variety of methods of teaching. Now everybody learns the same way, some are more visual, some needs to be in direct contact with the subject, some needs to relate some topics to something they already knew. We can do this using videos, songs, pictures, experiences, etc. The objective is to use the neuroeducation to stimulate all the senses. The second step is repetition that is one of the best ways to learn something in a long term. However, the repetition should be done using these different methods and strategies. Otherwise, we can get bored or lose the concentration. And neuroscience proposes to do it that way in order to be able to manage the information from a variety of perspectives. And the last but not least important step is the feedback, where for neuroscience to have a feedback of what we do well or what we need to improve is essential to orientate the learning. It isn't a good recommendation just to highlight the mistakes. It is also important to communicate the good and positive things to stimulate and motivate students to carry on.
Good. Martina?
Oh, at certain age, family is the other support children need in their education. To know how the brain works helps the family to help them to develop their potential and to give good mental health. Some tools for the family to use can be, for example, self-esteem. It is important to help kids develop a self-esteem to make them know they are capable of doing certain things. Keep them motivated and encourage them to keep going. It is also important not to compare them with other children or brothers because they could be forced to behave as another person, hurting their feelings. Encourage creativity. Sometimes family doesn't realize how much a child is controlled when he or she is playing. If they feel observed, that will stop their creativity and their experimental freedom. Children must experience on their own. Exercise. For neuroscience, physical activity contributes to learn better because in that way the brain receives oxygen and activates. Some people find it very difficult to be sitting in a chair while they are learning or studying. And also, sport activities have not only education but also let children socialize, have fun, and relax. On the other hand, having a good rest is necessary for the brain and the body. Firstly, the brain needs to consolidate everything that we learn on the day and to renovate energy.
Bianca?
Finally, knowledge and reality. One excellent exercise from neuroscience at home is to make children realize that everything they are learning can be applied to their reality. That way, we are helping them to learn better and discover how useful things are. We develop a positive thinking. That will be all. Thank you very much for watching this video.